Почему MailBet называют справедливым букмекером? С ним всегда все просто. Поставил ставку, выиграл, в течение 15 минут вывел деньги. А еще MailBet — современный букмекер. Ведь у него супер быстрый и удобный сайт, интерактивные онлайн-трансляции, множество крутых бонусов и специальное решение для любителей киберспорта. Убедись сам.
For almost all of his opponents, Monson is a small tank at 5'9", 199 pounds, a middleweight matchup to get things started tonight. Sanshiro Matsuyama is working the microphone inside the octagon here this evening for UFC 29. Let's listen in a bit.
USMTA 北米キックボクシングヘビー級チャンピオン IKF アメリカヘビー級チャンピオン勝ち取った KO はほとんどがキック悪魔の足を持つ男188センチ90キログラム from アメリカレッドコーナーチャック・リデル
I like that. I like that. You get a great feel of what the fight game is about here in Japan. And remember, you and I were here back in December of '97, Jeff. It will be a very quiet building throughout. It's almost like breakfast at Wimbledon. It's almost like a tennis match because the tacticians are at work with Mario Yamasaki, our referee, and the crowd will watch it like it is a chess match. So the first of 3 5-minute rounds, and we are underway here in Tokyo.
Let's see how Monson assesses the distance Liddell needs to throw strikes. That'll be a big component of this fight.
Scott Adams in one corner, Matt Hume working in the other corner. Chuck Liddell finds himself quickly in the guard of Jeff Monson.
And Monson here just staying with underhooks, keeping him close. Oh, now he's coming up off his backside looking for a takedown. He has Liddell in a great position up against the fence, in on the leg, but Liddell now able to get a counter going, sprawling. And this looks like a wrestling match right here.
Well, Liddell is okay at wrestling. It is not the world in which he wants this fight to take total place in. Monson, of course, very comfortable with a strong wrestling background, also working out day in and day out with our heavyweight champion, Randy Couture, and also another great wrestler in Dan Henderson.
Monson needs to take advantage of this position and not just hang out here. Here, a very slow throwback. Monson covering Liddell, but he is not in a great position. He's stepping over that counter whizzer by Liddell and has gotten the takedown. But the question is what to do with it. He still has his hands locked like a wrestler. Needs to move, look for submission or start to strike. Hanging on will not score a lot of points. And Liddell is throwing some elbows.
A master's degree in psychology for Jeff Monson from the University of Minnesota Duluth. Fought many years to stay warm. Now he's fighting for his life here against Chuck Liddell from the West Coast. And Liddell, when he gets up and has the opportunity to strike, will do so. He's also very creative when working with his hands, with his elbows, with his forearms. He has shown a great bit of versatility in his past fights when he's been able to throw some punches.
And Jeff Monson had the ability to get a takedown, but really hasn't followed it up with any kind of an attack. He seems a little bit lost as to what he wants to do when he gets behind Liddell, standing or on the mat.
2:37 remaining in round number one. If we reach the full time limit of 15 minutes, our judges, as introduced to you earlier by James Wormy, will render a decision. Liddell made his debut at UFC 17 as an alternate, as we mentioned earlier, winning against Noe Hernandez. Also was good with Jeremy Horn. A good sprawl there, a good bit of ability shown a moment ago.
Well, it seems as though Liddell now is measuring Monson. It looks as though he's ready to unload some kind of strikes, and Monson is just basically, he's not a stationary target, but his head's not moving, he's not doing any kind of feigning. His head's staying pretty much in the same place in relation to the rest of his body, making him a more easy target to hit.
Well, it's interesting, the couple of times that there's a left that grazes the chin of Jeff Monson, the couple of times that Monson has shot and brought Liddell down to the mat, Liddell has been able to get right back up. He's been able to stay very busy. Another example there, as opposed to a Kevin Randleman matchup where he'd get a smaller opponent down and never get back up in a good right kick. A moment ago as Tito Ortiz watching from a distance. He will defend his middleweight belt here this evening. There's another one.
You have to wonder if Monson cutting down from heavyweight, even though in Atlantic City he was ready to fight, he was on weight, so he's been there for a while. This hasn't been a big bounce or anything, but he seems a bit slower. It seems Liddell's hands are a lot faster than his are, and Monson right now just seems a little bit lost. You can see him wanting to back away, and it seems that he's really hesitant to try anything.
Now, there's the ultimate respect for the kickboxer. That certainly has to enter into the mind of anyone who enters into the octagon against that man. A good look at Chuck Liddell, 2-1 in the UFC, defeating shoot fighter Paul Jones in the first round of the matchup at UFC 22, opening up a big cut and forcing Big John McCarthy to end the evening for Jones and award the victory to Chuck Liddell.
And you often wonder if the two were supposed to meet in Atlantic City and that fight didn't happen. Was it a letdown, all that build-up, all that training, and now they're finally fighting, and you wonder if they're more conservative or if they're going to be more wide open.
There's a quick kick from Monson, not much damage done to Chuck Liddell. Good show of sportsmanship with 15 seconds remaining in round number 1.
Yeah, that kick was a bit low. I think that's why you saw them touch gloves. But it wasn't a real power kick.
Monson is a junior tank, 6-2, tried to go high there. And now, you know, with the reach already of Chuck Liddell, his ability to go high, Monson only being 5'8", Jeff, he can try to graze, but if you do, you leave a leg exposed.
You certainly do, and the key to that is to try to keep no weight on the leg being kicked so that the leg is off the ground and will move when the kick hits it instead of absorbing all that punishment. Ice on the back of the neck of Jeff Monson, and again, he looks a little bit fatigued. He didn't put out all kinds of energy there, but it just seems that he isn't moving at full speed yet. Maybe in the second round, he'll have it together, get the nerves out of his system, you know, realize, hey, I'm in a fight, got to concentrate and focus.
You know, it's interesting. He did admit that his cardio is excellent. He feels good about his conditioning, but he also, in the same breath, admitted that, yes, it is tiring trying to take his frame down from about 220 pounds to under 200 pounds here tonight. And if he had to bust to do it or not, Jeff, it's still a different body build than you have been accustomed to throughout your life.
And it's one thing to run at a good 95% and feel good at 95%, but when you get pushed and you have to sprint for survival and you get put into that 98, 99%, that's when it really wears you out. Is your body conditioned well enough to recover from that kind of output? Up to now, it's been Liddell stalking Monson.
And really not connecting yet with a big hit,
I
but
did
trying
like what
to
he
set
did.
it up.
He's kicking the leg, but at the end of the round, first round, he went upstairs. So if he conditions Monson into thinking it's a leg kick all the time, he may open the door and we may see one of those big kicks hit the head of his opponent.
Well, Chuck in some pre-fight interviews said he feels he's striking better than he has in a long time. Got back with his old kickboxing instructor, John Hackelman, about 6 months ago. And Chuck has really been training hard, and you can see the welt on the left thigh area of Jeff Monson. You think those are just a quick hit? Well, consider yourself a quick snap of a baseball bat, because remember, this is a trained kickboxer who throws the hips into it, throws the shoulders into it, and brings that leg around with pretty good momentum.
Unless you're familiar with mixed martial arts or kickboxing, you really don't understand the power behind one of those kicks. Definitely bruising Monson's left thigh. And again, this is conditioning Monson into thinking leg kick. He almost caught Liddell's leg at one point, so he is zeroing in on leg kicks.
It's like when Maurice Smith back in December of 1997, or earlier than that, pardon me, when Maurice Smith chopped down Tank Abbott with those big kicks, and then came in December of 97 and lost in his heavyweight title fight to our present heavyweight champion, Randy Couture.
Again, another leg kick. Liddell staying with the attack that's working, smart fighting.
Still 3 minutes. You can hear the corner almost in an anxious way saying, Jeff, you have a lot of time left to work here in round number 2. Second of 3 5-minute rounds. Our referee, Mario Yamasaki, watching Chuck Liddell just kind of work with the kicks from the right leg to the left thigh.
And it's the same kind of pattern. Liddell moves in, gets in that distance where he can use his hands, And it seemed Monson backs out the same way every time, giving Liddell that opportunity. And he even pulled his arms back. He did what we call telegraphing, letting your opponent know what you're about to try. And Monson clearly telegraphed that double leg. He'd rather wait for Liddell to miss with a strike and go under and use the momentum of following through to his advantage.
4-1 overall is Chuck Liddell in his mixed martial arts career. The one loss to Jeremy Horn.
Horn's a good one,
Yeah,
Mike.
Horn is excellent. Horn is absolutely spectacular. Gumby. Meanest Gumby you'll ever meet, though. And look at the leg of Jeff Monson. And the thing that Chuck Liddell wants him to do, Jeff, as you know, and there's a hit to the right hand, to the left cheek, is he wants him to start thinking about that leg, flinch down, and that's when you leave the top half of your body exposed.
And Monson again on a double leg attack, but too far away, arms extended. It's not the best position to be in to take your opponent to the ground.
And when he has not been able to keep his opponent, Chuck Liddell, to the ground.
He's got good slippery hips, Liddell. Worked hard on his countering leg attacks, and it's showing right now. Monson, powerful wrestler, competed in the Pac-10 and the Big Ten, and Liddell able to keep him off his legs, off his hips.
Does that almost totally neutralize Monson here?
It appears so, because we haven't seen anything else out of Jeff Monson. There's a right hand over the top, but they're very few and far in between. It's almost waiting for Liddell to be right on top of him before he tries that kind of offense. He seems to have in his mind he needs the takedown to operate, and it's starting to show. And here he might have the opportunity. He caught one of those leg kicks, and this is where you'd like to get your opponent against the fence, but...
Oh, good combination. Just missed with the uppercut. Now Liddell comes right back, though. Tries to go high with the left.
Yeah, he went head hunting, and Monson was waiting for it. It seems Monson's acting like a wrestler in there, and that's not going to help him. When you get a man up against the fence, stay right in on the hips. There's nothing he can really do to you down there. You're close to his thighs. He can't knee you, and because your head's buried so far, he really can't attack your head with his hands or his elbows. So you're in a pretty good position when you force your opponent up against the fence, and clearly you can be off balance driving into him, and the fence holds you up so that you can get a better grip on his hips or legs.
Happy to bring it right back up, but it is too much too late, or too little too late. The end of the second round, once again controlled by Chuck Liddell, the Iceman.
And a very quiet crowd once again. Japanese showing their respect to the fighters, allowing the corners to operate. And really, that comes from being a very educated audience as well, Mike. Japanese very familiar with the fight game, and they've obviously recognized the fact that Monson has taken some punishment in that left thigh. You can see the bruising there. And ice back to the back of the neck to help calm him, help him recuperate for the third round.
Give me 5 more minutes, Chuck. Monson started wrestling in high school at the age of 16. He joked saying he was too short for basketball, and he didn't want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to swim practice. Liddell, definitely a great body to be a kickboxer. Long, lean, and a heck of a reach advantage over most of the opponents he's ever competed in a lot of different versions of mixed martial arts.
I liked it when his son was born that he wanted to call him Hoist, and his wife said, no, 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 no. Of course, after one of the greats in the octagon, Hoist Gracie, introduced the world to submission.
Yes, indeed. Introduced the world into the smaller man being able to bring the big man down to his knees. And still, when you talk to UFC fight fans, they talk about Hoist Gracie, and the ones in Japan are well versed about the UFC. They understand the magnitude of having the Ultimate Fighting Championship in their homeland, bringing the Super Bowl basically to the Far East, which is being done by the fine folks from SEG Sports for the 4th time in the history of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Let's see if Liddell tries to go to a kill here in the 3rd round, or if he's comfortable at the standing of points in which he now sees himself, I would think, Jeff, with a sizable 2-round advantage.
Well, I think he won both rounds, so it would take a big round from Monson, a knockdown, or putting Liddell on his heels constantly here. And I'm not sure Monson has the skills right now to be able to do it. His takedowns are a little bit too extended, and even when he grabs the leg, he lets go of it so easily. I think he ought to move up the leg and attack the hips once he gets that close, and force your opponent into the fence and rip him from his feet there.
When you blast, you have to blast and never try to come back from it, right? You got to really go into those legs and try to lock something in.
It's called a running tackle for a reason. You don't go halfway in, grab the leg, and stop running. You want to follow through. Particularly in this game. They may always be right for wrestling, but in this game called mixed martial arts fighting, you don't want to be sitting there stationary underneath an opponent.
3:22 remains in round number 3. If we go the distance, our 3 judges will render a decision. 2 Japanese judges. The American from Honolulu, Hawaii, making the trip halfway over the pond, if you will, to come to this beautiful venue for a great night of mixed martial arts competition. Started in the middleweight division. Our night will end with the middleweight title fight. Tito Ortiz will defend his belt against Yuki Kondo later still tonight. But first things first, Chuck Liddell, Jeff Monson now in the 3rd round, and there's a kick that really wasn't snapped back, but what can Monson do? He cannot seem to take advantage of his advantages in the fight game.
Well, he had the leg up with literally the heel up near his stomach, and what he did is he dropped down to the other ankle, allowing Liddell to bring that foot back down to the ground, put weight on it, and have the ability to counter. When you get that leg in the air, you want to get into the hips. There was something interesting. Watch Liddell's, watch Liddell's left foot. Each time that foot plants, he's either going to be looking to throw a punch or he's setting him up for a kick. Each time that leg plants, watch him. He coils. And you can see Monson react each time that leg does plant.
That one got him. That one got him. That is a heck of a bruise. And now he's starting to limp a little bit. And now, see, that's where you fade down a little bit, Jeff, and boom, the right hand becomes lethal. And again, Monson tried to shoot. And Liddell trying to finish this fight off. But see, he's happy to bring it right back into his world because he seems to have full confidence in his advantage when these 2 sets of fighters are on their feet.
Monson has offered no threat from the standing position whatsoever, and Liddell has answered every leg shot that Monson has tried with an effective counter. The closest Monson really has come to a takedown is off the leg kicks, trying to catch the leg, and it's not working for him. He's absorbing punishment to try for an opportunity he has yet to seize.
Once again, Mr. Tom Foley, U.S. Ambassador to Japan, in attendance here at UFCJ. We saw Mr. Foley when Kevin Randleman won his heavyweight title here in Japan a number of months ago.
He's setting it up. You can see Liddell start to coil. He doesn't put weight on that foot. He's measuring and trying to gauge the distance.
Now, Chuck said coming in, he feels like at this point in his career, Jeff is truly a pure wrestler. And so Chuck is not allowed Jeff to wrestle really at all here this evening. Just missed grazing with the right hand there. And under a minute remains in this first matchup of the night, middleweight division. Chuck Liddell, Jeff Monson. That's where we've seen Chuck take advantage. He slides that leg right back out and just missed going upstairs. That's where being 5'8", not 5'10", just helped Monson. But here comes Chuck Liddell.
Liddell kicking at the head, following it up with punches. Monson decides to go underneath to avoid that kind of striking. And he's got a hold of Liddell's leg, but he really isn't in any kind of a position to improve from it. Liddell up against the fence, but he's got his knees wide, based out nicely, and continues to throw strikes, and that's going to do it.
Look at that left leg of Jeff Monson, as the competitors, as always, show great class and great regard and respect to each other, and I think that's probably an early indication of what we'll see when the official judge's decision is rendered.
Now Chuck Liddell has some good leg kicks, and there another one to the thigh of Monson, over and over and over throughout this fight.
Look at that. I mean, that is leaving his mark on his opponent.
And I guess that's a clear indicator as to who was leading who in this fight.
Let's get our official decision, as it will be handed inside the octagon. We'll hear the announcement of Shinshiro Matsuyama. Liddell was able to do basically what he wanted to do here this evening. That man, Jeff Monson, was unable to do the same.
You're right. Clearly Liddell had octagon control. He dictated pace, place, and position of the fight.
判定の結果をお知らせします。ジャッジ西30対27、ジャッジ梅木30対27、ジャッジ鮫島30対26、以上の結果3対0でレッドコーナーチャック・リデルの勝ちとなります。
So as we imagined it would be, congratulations goes to Chuck Liddell. He ups his UFC record to 3-1.
And that was a unanimous decision for Chuck Liddell. Shut down the offense of Monson, instilled his will, was able to use his standing skills to win this fight.
So Monson will go back to the drawing board. He will come back with a vengeance, and Liddell victorious in our first fight of the night. Take a look at it again. This was early in the action when Monson tried to wrestle, but Jeffy could never finish any of his wrestling techniques.
Even when he landed on the ground there after trying to throw Liddell to the mat, it was as if it was a one desperate attempt and then he had no answer. It's as though he was trying one move, then reevaluating. He never was able to chain wrestle or put together moves in a way that would lead from one into the next in a flowing fashion. Chuck Liddell, on the other hand, had it going. Not only was he able to kick the leg of Monson, but he could take it upstairs as well.
Our winner is backstage with James Wormy.